The training ground was silent except for the dry wind moving across the sand. The human soldier stood alone, facing the alien warrior. Around them, others watched. Tall alien figures in silver armor whispered and laughed among themselves. They believed the scene would be short. They believed the human would fail. The alien warrior in front of him was tall and fierce, her blue skin shining under the sun. Her silver hair flowed behind her helmet, and her sharp ears twitched as she studied the human. In her hand, she held a heavy alien weapon, long and deadly, glowing with energy. Her voice was cold as she pointed at the small gun in the human's hand. "That is what your species brings to the battlefield?" she asked. Her words were full of mockery. A toy, a child's tool. "You expect to stand against us with that?" The aliens behind her laughed, their voices echoing across the training ground. Some shook their heads. Others tapped their armor in mock applause. They had seen countless species before. None had been as weak, they believed, as humans. But the human did not answer. He stood steady, calm, his small gun resting in his grip. His armor was plain compared to theirs. It had scratches from battles, but no glow, no sign of advanced technology. He looked simple, ordinary, almost fragile in the eyes of the aliens. The alien warrior smirked. She stepped closer. "Fire it," she demanded. "Show us your strength. Show us the pride of Earth." Still, the human remained silent. His eyes locked on hers, cold and steady. He did not move quickly. He did not shout. He simply raised the small gun and aimed it. The laughter grew louder behind her. The aliens expected nothing. They expected a spark, a weak shot, a useless display. They believed the human was there only to be humiliated. And so, when he fired, their laughter only grew. The small gun cracked once. The sound was sharp but thin, like a snap of dry wood. The shot hit the alien warrior's armor and left only a faint mark, no deeper than a scratch. She looked down, brushing the mark with her hand, then looked back at him. "That is all?" she asked with a grin. "This is your power? This is the fury of your world?" The crowd roared in amusement. Some of them turned away, already bored. Others mocked the human more loudly now, calling him weak, calling Earth a mistake among stars. But the human's face did not change. His jaw stayed firm, his eyes still fixed on hers. Slowly, he lowered the small gun. He let it hang at his side. Then, to her surprise, a faint smile crossed his lips. The alien warrior paused. For the first time, a flicker of unease touched her. The smile was not the smile of a defeated man. It was not the smile of shame. It was the smile of someone waiting, someone holding back, someone who knew more than he revealed. Her ears twitched again. She tightened her grip on her weapon. The laughter of her people suddenly felt distant, as if fading behind the silent look in the human's eyes. "Why do you smile?" she asked, her voice sharper now. "You have nothing left." The human did not answer. He only looked at her, the faint smile still on his lips, as though he carried a secret no one else could see. The alien warrior raised her weapon higher, pointing it at his chest. The glowing barrel hummed with energy. Around them, the other aliens fell silent, sensing the tension change. The wind blew harder across the sand, lifting dust into the air. For a long moment, no one moved. The alien's weapon hummed louder. The human's small gun remained at his side. And then, with calm movements, he lifted his other hand and tapped something at his waist. The ground trembled. It was faint at first, almost unnoticeable. A soft vibration beneath their boots. Some of the aliens frowned, looking around. The alien warrior narrowed her eyes. Again, the ground shook, harder this time. Dust rose in clouds around them. The alien crowd's laughter stopped. Their voices fell into silence. Something was stirring beneath the earth. The human did not speak. He only stood there, his hand now resting at his side again, his eyes never leaving hers. His calmness was more terrifying than any weapon. It was the calmness of someone who knew what was about to happen. The alien warrior glanced around. The ground cracked in thin lines. Rocks shifted. A deep mechanical hum rolled up from below the surface. "What is this?" she demanded, stepping back slightly. Her voice was no longer mocking. It carried the first trace of fear. The human finally spoke. His voice was low, steady, and cold. "You wanted to see the pride of Earth," he said. The ground split open with a thunderous roar. Dust exploded into the air. The alien crowd stumbled, shouting in shock. The warrior in front of him froze as she turned to see massive steel rising from the earth. The dust cleared just enough to show the outline of something enormous moving upward. A shadow loomed across the ground, growing taller with each second. The alien warrior's mocking smile was gone. Her eyes widened, her weapon trembling slightly in her grip. The human's faint smile remained. His small gun hung loose at his side, forgotten now. The true weapon was rising, and all who had mocked him stood in silence, their laughter dead in their throats. The ground shook harder as the hidden machine continued to rise. A grinding sound echoed across the training field, like mountains tearing apart. Dust covered the air, making it difficult to see. The alien crowd stumbled back, some reaching for their weapons, others staring in disbelief at the impossible sight before them. The alien warrior who had mocked the human just moments ago stood frozen. Her glowing weapon, once steady in her hand, now shook ever so slightly. Her silver hair whipped in the storm of dust, her sharp eyes wide with confusion. She had expected weakness. She had expected surrender. Instead, she was staring at the beginning of something far greater than she had ever imagined. The human soldier did not move. He stood firm while the world beneath him changed. His armor caught the light of the rising dust clouds, and his face was calm. The faint smile still rested on his lips, but there was no joy in it. It was the quiet smile of someone who knew that his time had come. The aliens behind the warrior began to whisper, their voices sharp with fear. "What is that?" one said. "Is it a weapon?" another asked. "It cannot be human technology," a third voice insisted. "They are too primitive for this." But the truth was rising higher every second. Metal towers stretched upward, unfolding like the wings of a beast long asleep. Plates of steel moved with mechanical precision, shaking the earth. A low hum grew into a deep roar, a sound that did not belong to anything fragile or weak. The alien warrior stepped back again. Her hand tightened on her weapon, but her confidence was breaking. Her mocking words from before now hung empty in the air. She had called his gun a toy. She had called him weak. Yet the shadow rising behind him was no toy. It was power. It was danger. The human finally looked away from her, raising his eyes toward the sky. His small gun remained in his hand, but now it seemed meaningless compared to what stood behind him. The ground split wider as the machine continued to climb. Dust fell away to reveal shining steel, black cables, and glowing vents that pulsed with hidden energy. The alien crowd began to retreat. Some stumbled over each other as they moved back. A few dared to raise their weapons, but none fired. The sight was too shocking, too unreal. They had never believed that humanity was capable of such a thing. The alien warrior tried to speak, but her voice caught in her throat. She cleared it and finally shouted, "Hold your ground! It is just a trick!" But even as she said the words, her own eyes betrayed her. The machine was no trick. The rumble of its engines, the heat of its power, the way the air seemed to bend around it, none of it could be faked. The human lowered his small gun and clipped it back to his belt. Slowly, with steady movements, he raised one hand toward the rising weapon. It responded instantly, lights running across its surface like veins of fire. The alien crowd gasped as the giant machine came alive, turning its colossal frame toward the sky. A low mechanical voice boomed from deep within the weapon, a sound like thunder breaking chains. The alien warrior flinched at the sound. She had fought in wars across the galaxy. She had seen weapons tear planets apart. But never had she seen a machine rise like this, hidden beneath the dirt, waiting for the right moment. The human spoke at last. His voice was calm, but every word carried across the silent field. "You laughed," he said. "You mocked what you saw. That was your mistake." The alien warrior swallowed hard. Her people were watching her, waiting for her command. She wanted to shout again, to order them forward, to tell them that they could still win. But she could not. The words refused to leave her lips. The machine's shadow stretched across the field, covering her and her people. Its size was overwhelming, dwarfing every warrior in the crowd. What had begun as a simple test, a chance to humiliate a human soldier, had turned into something else. It had turned into a warning. The human lowered his hand, and the machine stopped moving. It stood fully revealed now, a towering weapon unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Its core pulsed with a faint blue light, and its barrels, long and sharp, pointed upward at the alien fleet waiting in the skies. The alien crowd finally fell into silence. Not a single laugh remained. Not a single whisper dared to rise. The alien warrior stared at the human, her heart pounding. She realized then what he had done. The small gun had never been his weapon. It had been bait, a distraction, something to make them laugh, something to blind them to the truth. And now the truth stood before them, shaking the very air with its presence. The human looked back at her. His faint smile had faded. His eyes were colder now, sharper, filled with the weight of something far greater than pride. "You wanted to see the pride of Earth," he said again, his voice steady. "Now you will see it." The alien warrior's weapon lowered slightly in her hand. For the first time in her life, she felt something she had never felt before. Not anger, not hatred, but fear. The colossal weapon hummed louder, its barrels adjusting, locking into place. Above them, the alien fleet shifted nervously. Ships moved in the sky, their formations breaking as they saw the massive cannon below. The alien warrior tried to shout, but her voice cracked. She realized the truth too late. This was no training ground. This was no test. This was a warning written in steel and fire. The ground shook once more, harder than before. The machine's energy core glowed brighter, lighting up the entire battlefield. The alien crowd stumbled back again, shielding their eyes from the blinding light. The human remained still, calm, silent. And as the machine finished charging, the world seemed to hold its breath. The battlefield trembled as the colossal weapon reached its full height. Its steel frame towered above the training ground, stretching into the clouds, glowing lines of blue light running across its armor like veins of energy. Every alien eye was fixed on it. Every breath was held in silence. The alien warrior who had mocked the human only minutes before now stood with her weapon lowered, her lips pressed tight, her pride cracking under the weight of fear. She had laughed at the small gun in his hand. She had called him weak. Now she understood that the gun had been nothing more than bait, a mask hiding the truth beneath. The truth was a weapon larger than anything she had ever seen. The human stood calmly in front of it, dust swirling around him, his armor scratched and plain compared to the shining silver plates of the aliens. Yet in that moment, he was no longer the weakest on the field. He was the center of it. His silence carried more weight than the voices of 1,000 alien soldiers. Above, the alien fleet shifted nervously. Warships hovered in the sky, their sleek designs gleaming under the sun. They had come here confident, prepared to show humanity its limits. But now their formation broke apart. Pilots spoke quickly through their channels, voices rising in panic as the colossal weapon turned its barrels upward. The machine locked onto the nearest alien warship. Its energy core pulsed brighter, glowing blue like a star trapped inside metal. The hum of its power deepened until it became a roar, shaking the air. The alien crowd stumbled back, their courage fading with every heartbeat. The alien warrior shouted, trying to regain control of her people. "Hold your ground! It cannot fire!" But even as she spoke, her own voice wavered. She did not believe her own words. The machine's glow was too real, its power too strong. She had fought in wars. She had seen illusions, decoys, and tricks. This was no trick. This was death waiting to be released. The human finally moved. He raised his hand slowly, as if commanding the sky itself. The machine answered instantly. The glow became blinding, a sharp blue light that cut through the dust and the shadows. The alien warrior shielded her eyes, her weapon trembling in her grip. Her ears rang from the rising hum, a sound so powerful it seemed to rattle her bones. Then it happened. The colossal weapon fired. The blast was not a sound but a force. A beam of pure energy shot upward, tearing through the clouds like a spear of light. The ground shook with the impact, dust exploding in every direction. The sky itself seemed to burn as the beam struck the alien warship above. The ship did not have time to move. Shields shattered instantly. Metal melted and broke apart. In a single flash, the proud vessel of the alien fleet was gone. ripped apart into glowing fragments that fell like burning rain across the sky. The alien crowd cried out in shock. Some fell to their knees. Others ran back, tripping over one another. Their laughter from before was dead, replaced by screams of fear. The alien warrior's mouth fell open as she stared at the empty space where her warship had been. Her people had trusted her to lead. She had promised them that humans were weak. Now, in a single strike, that promise had been destroyed. The human lowered his hand. The faint smile was gone from his face now. His eyes were sharp, cold, and merciless. He looked at her, and for the first time she saw him not as a fragile soldier, but as something far more dangerous. He was a man who carried a weapon that could change the balance of the galaxy. The colossal machine adjusted again, its barrels shifting. Another hum began to grow, deeper this time, hungrier. It locked onto the alien command ship, the largest vessel hovering above. Panic filled the alien ranks. Their leaders shouted through the channels, voices filled with fear. "Retreat!" one voice called. "Shields up!" another shouted. "Break formation!" But it was too late. The machine was already charging. The alien warrior stumbled forward, desperate now. "Stop!" she shouted at the human. "You will destroy us all. This is madness!" The human finally spoke. His voice was steady, cold and sharp as a blade. "You mocked us," he said. "You thought we were weak, but we never show our greatest weapon first." His words cut through the silence, and even the wind seemed to pause as the machine prepared to fire again. The alien warrior's weapon slipped from her hand and hit the ground. She no longer had the strength to hold it. Her people, once proud and fearless, now trembled like children before a storm. The machine roared louder, its energy core glowing like the heart of a sun. The ground shook so violently that cracks spread across the training field. Stones split, and dust rose in heavy clouds. The alien fleet above moved desperately, scattering to avoid the aim of the weapon. But the command ship remained locked in place by the massive barrel, the glow of doom reflecting off its silver surface. The alien warrior's heart pounded in her chest. For the first time in her life, she felt powerless. All her victories, all her pride, meant nothing in the face of this human's hidden strength. The human lowered his hand again, calm and controlled. He did not shout. He did not boast. He simply watched as the machine reached its final charge. The battlefield was silent except for the roar of the colossal weapon. Every eye was fixed on it. Every breath waited for its release. The alien warrior whispered to herself, her voice trembling. "What have we done?" And then, with a thunderous roar, the weapon prepared to unleash its fury once more. The glow from the colossal weapon lit the battlefield like a false dawn. Its barrels pulsed with blue fire, each hum shaking the air as if the earth itself feared what was coming. The alien fleet above scattered in panic, warships breaking formation, their once perfect discipline shattered. The command ship, vast and heavy, lingered like a mountain in the sky, and the weapon's aim never left it. On the ground, the alien soldiers no longer laughed. Their silver armor no longer shone with pride. Dust covered their faces as they stumbled back, their voices breaking with fear. Some raised their weapons, but none dared to fire. What could their rifles do against something that had torn apart a warship in one strike? The alien warrior who had mocked the human stood frozen, her chest heaving with sharp breaths. Her weapon lay in the sand where she had dropped it, forgotten. She had thought herself stronger, her people superior, her technology unchallenged. Now every word she had spoken came back like a curse, mocking her instead. The human remained steady. His small gun rested at his side, useless now, yet it no longer mattered. He was no longer the soldier mocked for carrying a toy. He was the one commanding a titan of steel and fire. The colossal machine roared, its barrels locking tighter on the alien command ship. The glow deepened, brighter and brighter until it burned against the eyes of those who dared to look. The alien fleet shouted desperate orders, voices cracking with fear. "Shields at maximum! Pull back the command ship! Redirect power to evasive thrusters!" But it was too late. The weapon was already alive. The human raised his hand once more. The air froze in silence. The weapon obeyed. Its glow became a blinding surge, and with a sound like the sky itself tearing apart, it fired. The beam shot upward, massive and unstoppable. It cut through the clouds, a line of destruction brighter than lightning. It struck the alien command ship head-on. For a heartbeat, the ship seemed to resist. Its shields flared, glowing red as they absorbed the blast. The alien crew inside shouted in panic, their captain screaming for power, for resistance, for survival. But the weapon's force was too great. The shields collapsed with a shattering flash. The beam ripped through the command ship's hull, tearing it apart like paper. Explosions burst across its surface as fuel lines ruptured, fire spreading like veins of death. The ship groaned, metal screaming as it broke apart piece by piece. Then, with a final flash of blue light, the command ship split in two and fell from the sky, raining fire across the battlefield. The ground shook as fragments crashed into the sand. A shockwave rolled outward, knocking alien soldiers off their feet, scattering them like leaves in a storm. Flames rose in the distance, black smoke curling toward the sky. The alien crowd screamed. Their proud fleet, their command, their power. It was all collapsing in front of their eyes. What they had thought impossible had happened twice within minutes. The alien warrior shouted desperately, "Stop, enough! You will kill us all!" But the human did not move. His calmness was more terrifying than rage. It was the calmness of someone who knew that his enemy had already lost. The weapon charged, the glow growing brighter, hotter. The air around it shimmered from the heat, and the ground cracked under its weight. The alien fleet scattered further, their proud order lost. Commanders shouted conflicting orders, captains begged for retreat, soldiers screamed in confusion. The alien warrior fell to her knees, her voice breaking. She had wanted to mock him. She had wanted to humiliate him. Now she was watching the destruction of everything she had sworn to protect. The human finally raised his other hand, signaling the weapon. The glow reached its peak. The battlefield was drowned in light. The alien warrior shut her eyes, bracing for the end. And then, silence. The glow faded. The weapon stopped charging. Its barrels lowered, locking into standby. The hum softened until it was nothing more than a faint vibration beneath the earth. The alien warrior opened her eyes slowly. Around her, her people gasped in confusion. The fleet above scrambled but remained untouched. The human had stopped. He looked at her once more, his eyes sharp. "We could end you," he said quietly. "But we will not. Remember this moment. Remember who we are." The silence was heavier than the weapon's roar. Every alien felt it. Every alien understood. Humanity had chosen restraint, but only because they wanted to. The alien warrior's hands trembled. For the first time, she bowed her head. The pride she had carried, the laughter she had used against him, it was gone. Now there was only respect born from fear. The colossal weapon stood tall behind the human, its shadow stretching across the broken ground. It was not just a machine. It was a promise, a warning, a statement written in fire and steel. And as the battlefield fell into silence, one truth echoed in every mind. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not to be mocked. Humanity was to be feared. Smoke still drifted across the battlefield. The ground was broken and scarred from the weight of the weapon that had risen from beneath. The alien soldiers, once proud and laughing, stood silent. Their voices were gone, their confidence shattered. Where there had been arrogance, there was now only fear. The alien warrior remained on her knees, her hands trembling as she stared at the human. The memory of her laughter, her mocking words, burned inside her like poison. She had believed she was stronger. She had believed her people were untouchable. But in a matter of minutes, everything she believed had been destroyed. The colossal weapon stood still behind the human, towering like a god of steel. Its barrels were lowered now, its glow fading to a soft hum. It did not need to fire again. Its presence alone was enough to crush the pride of an entire fleet. The human looked across the field, his eyes cold, his face calm. He had not celebrated. He had not shouted in triumph. He carried himself with silence, and that silence was more terrifying than any roar of victory. He stepped forward slowly, his boots pressing into the cracked earth. Dust clung to his armor, and the scratches across his chest plate seemed unimportant now. The aliens had once seen him as fragile, weak, almost laughable. Now, each step he took echoed like thunder in their hearts. The alien warrior finally found her voice, though it was weak. Why did you stop?" she asked, her tone filled with fear and confusion. "You could have destroyed us all. You could have ended our fleet. Why spare us?" The human stopped in front of her, his shadow falling across her bowed form. He spoke in a low, steady voice. "Because destruction is easy," he said. "Restraint is harder. And restraint shows more power than fire ever can." His words struck her deeper than the blast that had destroyed her command ship. She had expected rage. She had expected revenge. Instead, he spoke of control, of choice. That was something her people never understood. They believed in domination. They believed in breaking their enemies until nothing was left. But humanity? Humanity showed mercy, not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to choose it. The alien soldiers behind her lowered their weapons. None dared to raise their heads. None dared to speak. They understood now that the galaxy had changed. The human looked up at the sky. The alien fleet hovered in broken formation, their ships scattered and afraid. Captains spoke in hurried voices, but their orders meant nothing. They had seen too much. Their pride had collapsed like the wreckage of their command ship. The human raised his hand once more. The colossal weapon behind him hummed, shifting slightly, its glow returning for just a moment. The aliens in the sky flinched, their ships moving back in fear. Then the human lowered his hand, and the weapon fell silent again. It was not a strike. It was a reminder. He turned back to the alien warrior. His eyes held no hatred, only certainty. "Tell your leaders," he said. "Tell your people. Humanity does not seek war. But if war is forced upon us, we will not be mocked. We will not be broken. And we will never show our true weapon first." The alien warrior lowered her head further. For the first time in her life, she felt respect for an enemy. Not the respect of equals, but the respect of one who had been shown the truth of power. The human stepped past her, moving toward the edge of the battlefield. The silence of the aliens followed him. Each one knew they had witnessed something their ancestors would speak of for centuries. A moment when a species thought to be weak had shown strength that rivaled God's. The colossal weapon sank slowly back into the earth, its steel towers folding in on themselves, disappearing into the ground until the sand swallowed it whole once more. When it was gone, the battlefield looked almost empty, but the memory of its power lingered like a scar in the air. The alien soldiers dared not move. The warrior who had mocked him stayed on her knees, her silver hair falling around her face as she whispered words she had never spoken before. "We were wrong." The human did not look back. He kept walking, leaving the battlefield in silence. His figure grew smaller with each step, but his shadow remained large in their minds. Above, the alien fleet began to retreat. Their engines flared as they pulled away from the battlefield, from the human, from the world they had thought weak. They fled, not because they were defeated in battle, but because they understood the truth. The truth was simple. Humanity was not to be mocked. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was dangerous, and the greatest danger of all was not the size of their weapons, but the way they chose when to use them. The alien warrior rose slowly to her feet, her body weak, her pride broken. She looked at the fading horizon where the human had vanished. She knew that her people would tell stories of this day. They would whisper about the weapon that rose from the earth, about the fleet that fell, about the man who stood calm while the galaxy shook, and they would never laugh at humans again. For from that day forward, one memory would burn in their minds forever. The human had carried a small gun, a weapon that looked like nothing, and he had let them mock it. But beneath the surface, hidden from their eyes, he had carried something far greater, something colossal. It was not just a weapon of steel. It was a weapon of patience, a weapon of choice, a weapon of restraint. That was the true pride of Earth, and the galaxy would never forget it.